Welcome to In Depth for a look at what is making mining headlines in the Americas. We have seen more signs this week of tension between Ivanhoe Mines and its biggest shareholder, Rio Tinto. Liz O'Hugh, our deputy editor, joins me from Toronto to discuss this matter. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Martin.
The latest news is that Ivanhoe is planning a big rights offer. Can you tell us more about that?
Yep, that's right. So Ivanhoe announced earlier this week that it's planning to raise around between 800 million and $1 billion US in a rights offering to shareholders. So it will offer shares to, or rights to shareholders to buy shares at a discount to the market price. Ivanhoe, as you know, has got this big Oyu Tolgoi project in Mongolia, copper gold project. The company's it's working on a big debt package with a number of different institutions, both the government, development finance organizations, and also private banks that it's working to put together. It said that it expects to have that facility in place and ready to draw down in the first half of next year. But in the meantime, what the company has said is that it's going to raise this money, a lot of money, in a rights offering, and it will offer to shareholders. Chairperson and founder Robert Friedland, he said that he will take up his full rights, and then this money will obviously be used. The company has actually accelerated the production schedule for Oyu Tolgoi. They're now planning to start first production from Oyu Tolgoi in late 2012. So this money will be important. It'll go towards the bigger financing of the project, the broader financing of the project. Ivanhoe is expected to need at least $4 billion to fund the mine. And so this money will go to that, and it'll also help while they're waiting to put together that debt finance package and anything else that they look at. This money will obviously help keep this accelerated project schedule moving.
We hear that Rio Tinto seems to be opposed to the offering. Is that correct?
That's right. It was quite an interesting situation. As you know, Rio Tinto is the biggest shareholder in Ivanhoe Mines. The company signed an agreement a few years ago, and Rio really was helpful and instrumental in keeping Ivanhoe moving and also assisting in negotiations with the government of Mongolia for an investment agreement which was signed last year. That was really something that all the parties had been waiting for before they could start construction, before anyone was going to put any significant money into the project. So that was signed. Rio Tinto, as of the last time they increased a few weeks ago or a couple of months ago, their shareholding in Ivanhoe, they now own around about 35% of Ivanhoe Mines. They actually have an agreement with Ivanhoe that if they exercise all their rights and warrants, their shareholding would rise to about 44% in Ivanhoe. So obviously a major stakeholder in the company. And Ivanhoe actually didn't mention anything about Rio's opinion, at least, on the rights offer in their press release they put out earlier this week. And Rio Tinto, they say they're not commenting flat out on the matter. But looking a bit closer in the prospectus filed by Ivanhoe with the securities regulators, Ivanhoe actually reveals that Rio is not happy about this move. Just quoting the perspective, a representative of Rio Tinto told Ivanhoe that they believe there are much better options for Ivanhoe to be raising finance. They presented some of these options to Ivanhoe. And Rio Tinto also believes that this rights offering offends previous agreements and contracts that the two parties had. Now, Ivanhoe says that it disagrees with both. It says that the rights offering is the most superior, is the best way for the company to raise this finance. And it says that there's no problem with the contracts and agreements with Rio Tinto. It was pretty interesting also reading a bit closer into the prospectus. Ivanhoe also mentions that there are some disagreements between the two sides, of Rio Tinto and Ivanhoe, on the project team, on the actual development of the Oyu Tolgoi project. They mention things like project schedules and funding. These two parties in the negotiations with Mongolia for the investment agreement over the years really have put up a very, very much united front. But it certainly seems now that there are some cracks starting to appear in the relationship as now construction is well underway. We can see production on the horizon for this big project. So yeah, it will be interesting. And as I said, Rio Tinto, they're not commenting publicly on the issue.
What is going on behind the scenes here? Do you think that Rio Tinto wants control of Ivanhoe Mines?
Yeah, that's, I think, an interesting question. And I imagine over the next year or two, we're going to get an answer to it. Ivanhoe, Rio Tinto certainly they actually don't have an interest in the direct interest in the Oyu Tolgoi project. It's only through Ivanhoe that they have this indirect ownership of the project. So Rio Tinto has said that, or certainly expressed interest in exchanging the Ivanhoe shares for direct stake in the project. And I think, as I said, now that we're getting closer to the point where this project comes into production, it's quite interesting. Robert Friedland, the founder of Ivanhoe Mines, he also owns a big chunk of the company. He was CEO of the company for 10 years until 2006, when since then he's been executive chairperson. John Mackin was president and CEO. Well, now, just actually on the same day that they announced the rights offering, Ivanhoe announced that Friedland is moving back into the position of CEO. So it certainly seems that now that the project is gaining momentum, that we're getting into kind of the meaty time when production is on the horizon, that Robert Friedland, who's a famous deal maker and promoter, that he's just wanting to get all the pieces in the place where he wants them, that if and when Rio Tinto or even another party starts to try and make a move to gain control either of Ivanhoe or to get their hands on the Oyu Tolgoi project, I think he wants to make sure that he's holding the right cards and is ready. Certainly earlier this year, we spoke about how Ivanhoe put in place, also against Rio Tinto's wishes, put in place a shareholder rights agreement, or poison pill, and that protects the company or would frustrate any party from trying to do a creeping takeover or gain control without the agreement or the cooperation of management. So certainly it will be an interesting couple of years, that the standstill agreement that Rio Tinto has with Ivanhoe that prevents them from increasing their holding beyond a certain level. Although obviously there's some issues with the shareholder rights plan there if that is upheld. But that expires in October 2011. So certainly we're going to be seeing possibly some interesting moves over the next couple of years until leading up to start of production at Oyu Tolgoi.
Thank you so much, Lizo, for your time. That was Lizo speaking to us from Toronto, Canada. Join us again next week for more news and insight on mining in the Americas. I'm Martin Joaquin in Johannesburg.